review of April 27th to May 3rd. It's today's Sunday. And, of course, I do this spontaneous and unrehearsed, concentrating on the true facts. And in this review, they try to make it overwhelming. Quantity is the criminally insane, gyrating, they're gyrational. King George, Queen Hoover. Really, it's a circle jerk. They do something within themselves. They play with themselves. It's masturbating, hypocritical nonsense. But that goes on 24/7. You realize, really, since 1947, that's 53 years, 63, 68, say at least 65 years of Hooverism. They are incurable. They have lost. They are losers. Immoral. When you just say Hooverist, that's what it covers. They're immoral. They're hypocrites. They double-crossed the best here or anybody. You can't trust them. If they can use force against you, they'll use force. If not, they'll placate to you somehow. Deals, so you'll make money or whatever, just to bring you down. Well, when I saw that Russia was trying to copy the U.S. the first time, I said they're going to run into real trouble, because over here it's the way the system is. They are King George, Queen Hoover, not democracy, hypocrisy. You can't be like them. Let me give you, for instance, my legal professional name is Doc. Doc C, PhD company, etc. My original name was Joseph Joe. Well, they would like to see me or lie or trick where I'm trading off what my real beliefs are. The people must, not can or should, must govern themselves. See? And that's what I try to emphasize. I'm a theoretician, if you please. So I go into a store called Trader Joe's. They go weird nonsense. I say, I'm Doc C, PhD company, why world's greatest in science? I have to say that between old Al Einstein and yours truly, somebody says, what? You're like 10, 100 times difference? I says, yeah, there is about 10 or 100 times difference. Depends on whose viewpoint you're looking at. You understand? Really? So, they will say, well, he's trading now off of his principles for what the Hoovers, and they'll run around saying they're superior. And that it's the old Napoleon where they fold their arms and stand up, and they'll look at somebody tall or big, you know, and they got it. You figure the amount of personnel and money and equipment and all the changes that have gone on in, say, at least 50 years, 65 years, at least 50 years, really. Staggering, these losers. But I used to walk in and get a certain type of bread that was on the top shelf or near the top shelf, and I walk in and get it. When I walked in this time, I didn't see it. It's on the bottom shelf. And when I had to bend down to put it in, they walked up behind me and stood like this. You know, we can move faster and smarter. You're not the greatest. We are. Gyrational, weird nonsense. Well, I said, well, okay, the next time I go in there, I make sure they can't do that. Well, they run up in front now. And now that I'm injured and so I can walk slow, they run up and go by me, and they're up here as I have to bend down. They got it on the bottom now where I get the bread I want to get. They're showing me that they here nationally and internationally, they move faster and better. They're superior. I'm not making this up. This is what they do 24/7, run around. This is one of those just gyrational, polite. I'm not getting to her morality. Now, this time, well, yeah, they know what I'm going to do. I went in there and, okay, I reached down and get the bread. Comes a fella. Say, superior. Well, that's because they know what I'm going to do. So oh, wait a minute. I forgot to get something. Okay? I like coconut macaroons. And I went, fine. So I turn around and go back. Now what? Now you're going to say that, what? You're going to run in. So as I got the macaroon, here comes the same fella, comes running back. Stand! And he goes up and picks anything up higher than me. Huh? You say, well, that's crazy nonsense. That's the Hooveristic 24/7 anything. They just absolutely weird, criminally insane. King George, Queen Hoover, they do something and that's the way it is. And they say they do it and that's what it is because they say so. They play this within themselves, in the circle of authority and down and so forth. The circle jerk of masturbation weirdos. Losers, really. Phew. When you get to immorality, whew. I mean, when I was younger and get so angry, a natural reaction would be especially certain things I take in. Pull up my zipper. UCS, Hooverus, King George, Queen, Hooverus. Well, now I just ignore them. Just ignore them. Yeah, actually, you have to laugh at them. Now, that's in quantity. Now, in quality, what do we have? From the ridiculous to the sublime. You have one of the great holidays of labor, the great advances within certain nations and internationally of lifting those of labor up, the better conditions and more respected, and they govern themselves. You understand? They must govern themselves. That's the future of the people on this planet. If not, it's going to be a lousy King George, Queen Hoover, immoral, weird, people having themselves where they get represented and people govern themselves, and that is by far the best. So, what about why world's greatest? Nobody ever says, look, you made a mistake in your mathematical physics presentation. In all the years and every place I've traveled and given lectures and put it on documentation, put it on a board and a lecture on the internet. Well, to the average person, we can't explain that. Well, it's this way. Galileo Galilei was the father of modern science. And in discipline of science, I select him as the best of all time. He's a real clear thinker. It's amazing. He was the first, the father of what he did, he completed, was actual represented what takes place in this dynamic, complex universe, this earth. At that time it was the earth and the surrounding space, are sort of like our world. And he said it's the Galileo universal law of the addition, well, you add or subtract depending on the direction. Universal law of the addition of component velocities. Now, if I see something going to my right, and it's going, say, at 100 kilometers, move per second, or per hour per second, per unit time. Distance per unit time, v equals d over t. Universal of velocity, and you add if it moves, because say it's a plane, and the plane is going to my right at a great speed, but there's a strong current of air which carries it. You add that velocity to the plane to get its max total velocity. Now, if the plane is going to my left in the opposite direction, and the current of air is still going to my right, well, then the current of air will have to be subtracted. But Einstein, because light is so fast, for all practical purposes on Earth, it's so fast, if you say 1001. Now, I just took 1 second to say 1001. In that 1 second, the velocity of light is so great, it went around the Earth at least 7 times. Do you understand? So, when you get to the intellectual, what really is, you cannot violate the universal law of component velocities, but Einstein does. And you can do it because light is so fast, you can say it's instantaneous. So any little motion by me walking or a plane or the air or any medium is so insignificant in the actual velocity that you can say that wherever you are, you use light as what to relate to relative motion. Now, along comes yours truly, and I say, well, we're getting rockets that are going faster. Supposing we get a rocket that goes 90% the speed of light, say going to my right, and I take, in order to keep up with it, I go 90% the speed of light to keep up with it. Relative to me, that rocket, we're together, it's the same length, etc. Okay? But now, supposing that rocket comes by again, and I'm going to my left at 90% of the speed of light. Einstein, I don't care what you say or anybody says. there's going to be a difference between the time of what you can measure with that other rocket. You cannot violate that universal law on velocities. So if you keep going faster and faster, there will be a time when you're going as fast to my left as anything's going to my right, including light. So now it's light and its velocity minus a speed to the left. And if you add the two of them, what will you have? You're going twice the distance. The overall speed from one point to the other to get there, if you had to do it in the same time, would be twice the speed of light. Do we have anything going faster than the speed of light? Yes. For years it's been known that you have phase velocity. You see, the phase of the velocity, its motion, is faster than the speed of light. But they say, oh, but that's an exception because it doesn't send any message. It's just a vibration. But it's a motion. Isn't that correct? And it's the same as distance per unit of time. And it's a group. There's also a group of the phase and group velocity, where a group will move faster than the speed of light in its motion. Then there are where you get Enrico Fermi's neutrinos that go, almost all neutrinos go right through the Earth. You have to go into a deep cave with a certain type of mercury bath or something to capture them. Oh, hey, we're finding neutrinos. Look at that. You call it like the ghost particle. Maybe there's even something smaller that is faster so we can't see it. Theoretically! Einstein, you're wrong. No, this is theoretical mathematical physics, and the future of theoretical mathematical physics is super luminous velocities, faster than the speed of light. And there were even some clubs that started up at the speed of light. Now, this is really my main interest. But then I said, look, there's so much crime, plagiarism, you know, not getting credit and financial reasonable compensation. Maybe theology. Theology is man's greatest challenge. How did we get here? Why are we here? What best to do? And I've answered that. I have videos on that. Then it comes to where, well, looking at this planet from out in space, they say, God bless America. Like, oh, God wants to bless America because it's so good. No, that's just nationalistic. It's actually a naturalistic song. Does God really prefer the U.S.? And America is named after Americo Vespucci's Italian descent, because my father's Italian descent, of course, I'm Italian descent, and one of the reasons they took and killed us, experimented my brother to death, the criminally insane King George, Queen Hoover, hypocrites. You understand? So you take and say, what in theology is reality? And that is that over this planet, in my opinion, in thinking theologically, that God maybe has this U.S. as a King George, Queen Hooper, immoral, criminally insane nation, not democracy, hypocrisy. You understand? But if they can keep me busy and you busy about all this other gyrations, then that's what you're doing instead of what's reality. And the reality is the people must and are and will with their labor, and they are and more will govern themselves. Thank you.